Yeah, I mean, I think above the 4 game threshold right now today, you would probably say Peyton Jones is certainly on track to do that. Um, then from there, there's probably a lot of guys that are kind of like teetering on the bubble of how does the beginning of this season go from a health standpoint. I think you look at, Deshaun Stone and Leon Griffin in the secondary. You look at Kendall Johnson at linebacker. I think offensively, you look at guys like Spencer Jones, Quayshawn Brown, um, and then obviously Grayson Loftus is one play away from being in the 2 deep. And so, um, that's probably where that group, for the most part, lands.
Seems like you may need a freshman to step in at defensive tackle. Seem to be some depth. You got, if I'm counting correctly, only 4 guys who ever played in college football defensive tackle. Is there a freshman at that position?
No, I think in our mind we have 5. I think Wes Williams and Aaron Hall.
Okay. So you move Wes from in to tackle.
Yeah, I mean Wes played tackle all spring. So in our mind we have 5 ACC level defensive tackles. So I don't know that we could have many more than that. That's of all the depth issues on our team. That's honestly, it's the one that gets talked about the most, but I don't really understand it because it's not the one that I'm worried about.
It's just the one. I know the focus is going to be on Clemson, and you're probably tired of talking about it, but a report just came out about 10 minutes ago that the ACCs are probably going to be voting tonight on Cal, Stanford, and SMU coming into the ACC. Do you have any thoughts on that? Are you excited? Want it all to be over already?
Yeah. Whatever. We're going to do what we think is right for the ACC. I've said it before. We have a really good brand of football. It's a really strange day and age in college football right now. The way realignment is shifting things. And so, I certainly trust the people that are running that, from Jim Phillips to Vince to Nina, that they're going to make the right decision for Duke and for the ACC. And so I think I have a few more important things on my plate than that part of it.
Coach, going back to the new clock rule,
yeah,
how much more of an emphasis is it that every play matters? It always has mattered, but with less snaps and less time, how much do you have to get that into, especially the offense's head?
Yeah, I don't know that we really emphasized it like that because we're not. I think maybe if the tempo teams are thinking a little bit more along those lines, I don't know that it's something that has that big of an impact. I really don't. Maybe I'm wrong as we play through this thing, but the biggest thing again to me is I think the games are going to end quicker. I think from 7 minutes to 2 minutes is going to go faster because there's going to be teams trying to milk the clock, and you're going to be able to do it more because the clock's never going to stop. And then the emphasis on going fast in that stretch when you're behind, because I do think that's going to run faster. And where it used to maybe be 3 possessions to the end of the game might be 2 now. I think that's more the emphasis. I don't know that there's a bigger premium on playing every play for us. That's always obviously something that we think is really important to begin with. But I do think that's where it's going to impact it. I think that end of the fourth quarter stuff is going to play a little bit different in a lot of games.
Which you did a great job forcing turnovers last year, but the pass defense did at times give up chunks of yards downfield. What's going to be the key to limiting that, especially against Clemson with those bigger wide receivers that can be threats down the field?
Yeah, I mean that certainly was the biggest focus for us going into the off season was improving that. I think regardless of season, you always look at areas of weakness and how do you improve them. And so, we talked a lot about this, and I think this has shown so far through fall camp. The way we play coverage in our defensive system is it's different. It's just a lot different. And so I think 1 year further along, there's a much better feel for how we want to play the techniques in the secondary. That maybe allows a little bit less thinking. That allows kids to play a little bit faster. And then I think you just got player development. I think Chandler Rivers and Josh Pickett are playing at a much higher level right now than they did last year. And then I think the 2 additions, Miles Jones and Al Blade, certainly bring in bigger framed bodies and longer bodies that should help with those deep balls as well.
Coach, what is your message to the defense on Monday night? If you do A, B, and C well, you will succeed Monday night, whether it's forcing turnovers, getting off the field on 3rd down.
Yeah.
What is your message to the team?
Yeah, we always try to keep it really consistent. And so for us, it's we've got to win the turnover battle. That's critical week in and week out. Defensively, we got to play with relentless effort. That's a no holds barred thing. That's got to be who we are. And then you start talking about situational football, and it's how do we get off the field on third and fourth downs, and then how do we hold to field goals in the red zone. And I think if you look at those numbers, right, turnover margin, and then third down conversion, which leads to drive success, and then finishing drives with touchdowns as opposed to field goals. I think both sides of the ball, those seem to be what we would define as the winning factors. And so our ability to execute those things, both sides of the ball, but defense in particular, I think is going to be critical.
Were there less nerves going into this first game than there was last year for you?
No, I think nerves exist always when you go into games because, I think the biggest thing, we talked about this a lot, and I don't mean this to come off like coach speak, but it's really a reality. Like when you're the head coach, you want these kids to get what they've worked for, right? And then you see how much they put into this, you see how much they care, you see how invested they are, and you just hope that through it all, they're able to get the results that they've earned, and that doesn't always happen, right? And so there's a little bit of angst and apprehension that it plays out the right way for them. I think there's always a little bit more for the opener because, in the back of our mind as coaches, we always second guess everything. And, did we tackle enough? Did we tackle too much? Did we do this drill enough? Did we work on this enough? You have all those thoughts just constantly running through your head until you get out there and play a game. And so that probably, will keep me up from now until, next Tuesday. But it's you feel like you put a good plan together. You feel like you've executed it. Now it's kind of just got to go out and play ball.
Going back to the defense, where do you see Brandon Johnson kind of settling in? Do you expect Chandler to maybe slide over in that nickel role?
I think probably a little bit still to be determined. I think we've well documented the flexibility that we have. I think Chandler has the ability to play for us at corner and at nickel, and I think can operate and function at both of those spots. Brandon has the ability to function at nickel and at safety and can function very well at both of those spots. And so we feel good that both those kids have taken enough snaps in both of those positions to be successful. Obviously, it's been good to see Jeremiah Lewis and Terry Moore play this camp. I think both of those kids, Jeremiah Lewis obviously for the first time, but Terry Moore compared to the spring, playing at a really high level. And so that helps because that just gives us more flexibility and more pieces to work with. And so, right now I feel good about that group.
Talking about depth, another position